Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Culz Reviews Deep Dives. Today we're going to be talking a fun topic that you guys should have at least seen me and Matt talk about because we went and saw this on opening night in IMAX because I was really excited. But I want to do a deep dive and got some buddies here to discuss it who also have some rock climbing history, so we'll be able to go really in depth with it. One of which you guys should know, Jor-El has been forced to watch so many movies on this channel. Uh, and then, of course, we got a new face of the channel, Drew, down there. But
Hey,
I'll let them introduce themselves. Drew, do you want to go first since you are the new face of the channel?
sure. I actually know Keegan. I'm his daughter's PE teacher. Dabble in rock climbing in between skiing and hiking and just doing what you do in Colorado. But climbing is always something I enjoy coming back to when the season's right. And it's about that time. So looking forward to a good climbing season.
So nice to meet you, Drew. Hi, I'm Jor-El. I'm an actor and a musician, and then for the past couple of years, I've gotten really into rock climbing. So I am really excited to review this movie. I kind of like to do a little bit of everything, but right now I'm doing a lot of sport climbing and bouldering, but I've done a little bit of trad climbing. And of course, if you do a little bit of trad climbing, you've also done a tiny bit of free soloing, as Drew knows. So yeah.
That's factual. Yes.
Although I mean, like, you know, there are levels.
For sure. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, rock climbing and climbing in general, I think is fun. I took every year in high school because I went to Castle View and they offered rock climbing as an elective. So I took it every semester because you could do two. And I was like, yeah, no, we're doing that. So I had so much fun. And of course, we do lots of mountain climbing. My buddy Jeremiah at one point was the youngest person to climb Kilimanjaro. I don't know if he still is, but he
That's
climbed it
awesome.
when we were actually in Rockridge, me and him. So it was kind of
wow.
fun. Yeah.
So rad. It's cool.
I didn't know you went to Rockridge.
Yeah. I went
cool.
there K1 or K through 6. Actually, Mr. Jaquez, who's still there, was one of my teachers. Miss Borto.
Yeah.
She was one. Miss Ahola, I know, was back this year. She was one of mine.
Okay. Very cool.
So, yeah, we're talking free solo today. And I just want to get you guys' thoughts on the film. Drew, did you know about Alex Honnold's Climb of Capitan before the film or post the film?
Before. I read his book, which he kind of talks about at the beginning parts of his documentary. So I definitely knew who he was. I remember seeing him on 60 Minutes. They kind of do a brief little snippet in the film of that. So that was kind of my first introduction to who Alex Honnold is, which is pretty wild things he's been able to do on rock. So yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a little snippet in there where they're talking about like it's like an Olympic, sport, but if you lose, you die, and he's done some crazy hikes, not just this one. But Jor-El, what about you? Was this free solo your first experience with Alex Honnold?
No, I think people in the climbing community, because I climbed a little bit in college, even though I didn't really climb outdoors, knew who he was and that he was like a really big deal and was super into free soloing, like Drew was saying, the 60-minute thing when he soloed
Half Dome?
Half Dome. Yeah. He soloed Half Dome, and a lot of people kind of knew who he was. And I even talked to a couple friends of mine who had gone climbing with him, and they were super excited about it.
Cool.
But the film definitely really kind of delves into areas of his life that I didn't know, so it was cool to see it.
Now, one question: have either of you been to Yosemite and where this takes place?
Yes.
I have not yet. No.
It's freaking awesome, dude. You go there. I went to Yosemite. Was it last? No, it wasn't last summer. It was the summer before for the first time, and just like any outdoor like phenomena, you like walk up to it and like look up, and it doesn't look anything like the pictures. It's so much more massive and so much more beautiful and impressive, and you actually feel like this kind of guttural emotional reaction just seeing these like huge, cliffs of beautiful granite. And yeah, we went up there. It was like the worst temps to be climbing at all. It was like super, super hot, and granted, super slippery. But we did like a little bit of bouldering that weekend, and then we actually went up to the base of El Cap, and then like me and a couple of friends like scrambled up the very beginning of the climb, and then scrambled down. So it was pretty fun.
So watching this, you were kind of reliving some memories early on, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So Drew, watching this film, when did you first like see it?
I definitely saw it when it came out, not in theaters, but it might have been one of those that was like direct to streaming pretty quickly afterwards. And I immediately bought it and I watched it like, 19 times. It's just like the way Jimmy Chin captures climbing is just beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I know he's done some other films, and recently he was on an expedition where they found some of the remains of Sandy Irvin on Everest. I was like, oh man, it's so cool. Because I don't know about you guys, but Everest has been like a I don't know, not white whale, but just a huge like topic I like to talk about. And the George Mallory story in itself, and the fact Kodak's like, if we can find the camera, we could develop it and see how far they got. So that would be pretty cool. Jor-El, what about you? When did you first see this one?
Oh, I saw it kind of very similar to Drew, like right when it came out on streaming. I don't think I watched it in the theaters, but yeah, it was epic. And yeah, I agree. Jimmy Chin is awesome. He's got a bunch of really cool interviews where he talks about kind of his process, but he's like been in the like climbing community for forever, doing all these crazy films. So yeah, it's a pretty astounding achievement. Also, just making this movie, right?
Well, like Jor-El, from your standpoint, obviously doing film, how technically impressive was this film watching?
Oh wow! Well, it's a documentary, right? And I have a little experience with documentary, but not a huge amount. It technically, I think it's pretty phenomenal from start to finish, and I think it really toes the line of trying to stay true as much to the truth of what's happening in the actual real life story, while still also embracing some of the dramatic tension that you kind of want in a film. And I think they thread that line really, really well throughout the film. I think sometimes you see things on screen that and it's also kind of like the nature of the subject, right? Because sometimes you see things on screen that actually like aren't super intense or aren't super scary, but the filmmakers making it seem like, oh my God, he's doing these, he's like standing over the edge, he's doing this. But this actually is something that is super intimidating and super crazy, and such a awesome achievement that you don't really have to do that. So I think they do a really good job.
Drew, I know you kind of brought up the filming as well. Just what were some aspects that stood out about it to you?
Just the logistics of not only getting people in the right positions on the wall, but then there's the layer of you don't want to, they talk about it in the film, you don't want to change his headspace. Because if there's a camera there, like you're going to react, or maybe in the back of your head, do something that you normally wouldn't have done. So trying to make sure they're spaced out. I think they did some remote cameras in a few of those spots as well. But yeah, and to just the filming aspect, I've now gotten a camera myself, and I take it on my adventures in part because of watching this film and wanting to document what my friends and what they do. And it's definitely a big inspiration for me seeing this film, and kind of a jumping in spot for me as far as taking pictures of cool stuff.
Yeah, no, when watching it, it's definitely something in the back of my mind. It's like you don't want to put it in a place where like he's going to have to like reach out and grab. If something were to go wrong, he's got to go here instead. So you got to like put that in perspective. But I always like that one shot of him where he gets across, the spot that's been really bugging him, and he just smiles at the camera. And
Boulder problem.
Yeah, the boulder.
Because then he knows he knows like it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
like climbing is such a game of confidence and especially something like free soloing, you have to have that level of like head game and confidence. I've had not that, but I've had that moment on like a sport climb or a route where you do the move and you don't like completely celebrate, but you kind of know like, all right, now this is it, right?
This cruiser from here. Yeah, it's going.
Exactly. Or you've built enough kind of momentum that's going to happen. One other thing to echo that I think is kind of really interesting, just in terms of documentary. When I was at UCLA, I took a documentary, a film class, and there's two sorts of documentaries, right? There is kind of fly on the wall documentaries, and then there's kind of what's called verite, right? And fly on the wall is generally takes the position that you're kind of not really supposed to feel like the camera is there, right? It's supposed to kind of just be a fly on the wall that doesn't really take up any space, that like these people are just acting normal, right? And then this camera is just capturing them, right? And the verite basically says, no, there is a camera there, and that is going to impact it, and that is the truth of the situation. And I just really like the blend in this movie of that. I've seen kind of other movies that just try and pretend that the camera isn't there and isn't going to do anything. And sometimes that kind of almost even like takes you out of it, because like, oh, there is someone there filming it. And so I think they blend that really well, where the camera does kind of just disappear a little bit on some of the footage where he is climbing, but they also kind of recognize that they don't want to kind of impact him. And like the one guy even mentions, you don't want to like kick a rock down on him or like break one of the holes or do something like that.
Yeah, and especially at the heights that he's at, where he's over 3,000 feet. Don't want to. I mean, granted, I know when I was climbing, my instructor talked a story where someone he knew passed away from a pretty simple, like, just formation that was maybe 3 or 4 feet off the ground. So it's not really like the height; it's more like how you fall and where you fall as well.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, granted, 3,000 feet, you're not making that, but how would you guys have felt being on the ground filming it?
Oh,
I don't know.
Go for it, Jor-El. Go for it.
Oh God, this is I'm trying to. There's so many factors here. I'm trying to place myself in this narrative. I think it would be pretty incredible. I don't know. For me, I think it'd be more fun to be up there, like rigged out on like one of those not on like a crux pitch, but on kind of like maybe like the Monster Off With or something that was like cool looking, or like that one area that was like super exposed kind of toward the top. Like I think it'd be fun to be in that area and see some really cool climbing and kind of be part of the experience, but not have the pressure of, okay, this is one of those like moments where you don't really want to get in his head as the filmmaker. So I think I would enjoy that. I have no idea how it would feel to be on the ground, because you're just kind of waiting, right? It's like you're just waiting for something to happen or not, and you're just kind of taking it in.
Whenever I watch that, I don't remember the cameraman's name, but there's the guy that's on the ground in the meadow. that's me. Like I would be that guy. Like I can't do this. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
But to answer the question though, I think I would want to be just like Jor-El said, is on a pitch and maybe have like you've got 2 pitches and you jug up past them, and then your job's done, and then your stress is maybe not over for sure, but at least hey, I captured him. He didn't fall through the frame. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But the guy in the meadow, he's got the whole thing. So yeah, I think I would just take the little micro bite of it, not the whole 3,200 feet aspect. That's I'd lose it too, just like he did.
Yeah, I think as long as I don't have to watch the boulder problem part of the climb, I'd be fine. Because even though I knew what happened going into the film, I know what has happened since I've watched it 10 times now. It's still very tense to me. I'm just like, oh man, just like don't fall. And like kind of like pushes back, and I was just don't do that. Like
that's the beauty of cinema, right? It's the fact that you can like see a narrative, you already kind of know how it turns out, and yet you're still kind of fully engrossed in it. Enough
right.
That,
I mean,
you're not thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I love about like some of these historical, like not like documentaries, but films like Titanic or like I'm trying to think of another one, but movies where you know what's going to happen. So there's almost like this built-in tension or this clock ticking down, and you're like, oh man, it's good. It's getting closer and closer, and it builds that dread.
Have you seen Fruitville Station?
Mm-mm.
That's an example of one of those. Really good movie, really intense, really sad, but it's it has oh god, I am 100% blanking on the director's name. It's got Michael B. Jordan in it, and it's the guy who directed Black Panther.
Coogler.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler. It's like it's like one of his big breakout films, and it's based on a true story about this guy in San Francisco who died, and you kind of know the story the whole time, and it's about like the night before he died, and you know he's gonna die because it's this kind of like really intense story, but you're just kind of reliving that moment, and that tension is there the whole time. It kind of makes it kind of like what you're saying, right?
Or like if we're going documentaries, you can throw in Grizzly Man if we want to be more outdoors as well. Because you're like, you know what's about to happen. So what is like a part of that climb, I would say, that you would feel A, most comfortable, but B, would be the most challenging as well? The one that you would feel the most satisfaction getting through?
Oh, dude. I think the slab pitches would be really hard.
That's my bane in climbing is slab. So
yeah.
I mean, there's no, it's all friction. Got to trust your feet so much, and I stink at that. So that would be my. I wouldn't fall very far if I tried this. That's the plus. I think the slab pitches are on the lower third of this thing.
Well, I don't know how run out the slab pitches are. I haven't been on it. Sometimes, like when you climb trad and you're on a slab, it means there really isn't any place to put protection because it's a slab and it's not a crack. And so there'll be like a bolt, like you're climbing for like 20 feet and then you see like a magical bolt and clip in. You're like, thank God this is over.
Yeah. Yes.
The down climb too. Sometimes down climbing is an art form too. That the monster off with, I think it'd be tricky. I've only done one off with, and it was freaking gnarly. Like it was a really easy off with. It was a freaking 5.7, 5.7 off with, but I was in the thing like screaming for like 75 minutes.
Well, it's tough to practice those too. Like you can't go to like a gym and practice a monster off with like that. Like that's just like you got to be out and do it kind of thing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that people do these days, right? Is they go to Yosemite and they like wrap down a lot of these pitches and just practice them before they attempt them.
Yeah.
It was kind of like head pointing, I guess you'd say.
Well, that's kind of what we see with him too. Because how long is the documentary? It's like 4 or 5 years kind of span, and then he climbs in 2017. But I know, I don't know. Like I just at some point, he just wakes up and just feels really confident. And like you guys said, that's where you got to be, especially in these type of climbs, you know. And he kind of got it to where he is used to it. Where there's people watching, but not as many. You know, when you guys do climbs, obviously, like Jor-El, I know you're with a group and stuff, but like, do you guys like let people know where you're going? I know he usually doesn't, but
yeah, I always tell people where I'm going, especially if I'm going by myself, because I do climb solo sometimes.
Yeah, rope soloing's fun too, but yeah, I always let people know where I'm going.
Yeah, like I went bouldering yesterday out by myself, and yeah, you always. It's kind of stupid not to. I mean, like, and I would assume that he does that too, even if he doesn't tell them he's free soloing.
He just gives them like a time frame, because I know his like girlfriend. She like kind of, well, I know it's his wife now, but in the documentary, she kind of was like a 5-day like window that she knew it was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I just think you should let someone know just where you are. Just to find the body.
Yeah.
Well, or if something bad. I mean, 127 hours. What was the guy's name? That where he got stuck in the boulder there.
Stuff like that.
So another kind of like thing that popped up while this was going on was Sani. How do you say her name?
They say Sani in the film, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? But I know like there was some like controversy within the climbing community because people are like starting to like hate on her like during it because of like him starting to get injured all the time and kind of like projecting the anger onto her. Like, did you guys see any of that pre this coming out or no?
No, I mean I don't
No.
think I'm that in the Yosemite crowd of climbers. So
Same.
Jor-El, you're supposed
Yeah.
to be my on the boots
I'm
like.
sorry. Yeah. Oh yes, me and Jack were talking about it. Yeah.
There we go.
Damn it!
There we.
Not again, our buddy Alex.
Oh man, what about you guys? Like, would you climb this free solo, or would you do the obviously roped version?
Rope.
Roped for sure.
100% rope. But I do think there is value in free soloing, and I do think it is something that I do want to do a little bit of, and I have already done a little bit of. But it kind of free soloing is like a really it's a really okay. Like obviously, if you're climbing a really hard climb free solo, it's obvious that that's a free solo. But a lot of times, scrambling and free soloing are just kind of like here, right? So it's kind of a good skill to have, right? Depending on what sort of climbing you do. I mean, if you're just a gym climber, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to do any sort of climbing in the mountains, or anything that's got a little bit of an approach, a lot of times you end up scrambling, and that scrambling can get harder and harder. So it can kind of turn into, or if you're trad climbing, right, you get off route and then you kind of are free soloing, right? Because you have to figure out how to get back to your route. So it can be a really good skill to have. But it kind of depends on how you define free soloing, right? Because technically, like, there's no rope on me right now. There's no rope on Drew. There's no rope on Keegan, right? It's just that the terrain gets harder and harder, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Right. I mean, I guess technically I could go free solo the rock on top of Cows Rock right now if I wanted.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
a pretty
class
easy
4.
climb. Is it?
Go for it. Yeah, it's class 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know. I've done it in the dark. I would not recommend it, but it was kind of fun.
Nice.
Get up there with the
Climbing in the dark
stars
can
and
be really
stuff.
fun, actually, especially if you have a headlamp, because you get kind of focused. All
Mhm.
you just see is like, especially if you've done the climb before or the route before, and you know where the feet are. You just focus on like what you can see, and the kind of world disappears. So yeah, I would love to just climb on El Cap, like aid climb, free climb, whatever. To free solo some of that stuff is pretty wild.
Well, what is like a moment of free soloing for you guys that, you know, maybe it's not to this level, but like was super challenging and, you know, you guys, it's a good fond memory for you guys? Or is there one that maybe you guys turned back from, you know, because in this one he does turn back a couple times.
Have you gotten off route on any like crazy trad climbs, Drew? I feel like that's kind of.
Yeah, I have. And it's just kind of one of those things that you have to like just narrow your focus and ignore the fear and the uncertainty and just focus. Well, back to the night climbing. It's like you just got to put the little bubble around you and focus on the 6 feet around you that's your world at that moment, and then figure out the next move from there. And then after you figure that out, you do it again. You figure out the next move, and before you know it, you're back on route, or you're at the anchors and you're building, bringing your buddy up and laughing about it because you're like, did you go to the left or right? I went left. I went right. It was really hard.
Yeah, right's harder.
Right's hard. Don't go right.
Yeah. I have that in sport climbing, just that. Like literally, I had that like a couple weekends ago. My friend was trying to give me beta on like a climb, and I was like, "Which way do you go, left or right?" And he was like, "You go up straight." And then like I went up straight, and then like halfway up, I'm like, "This looks hard." And then I went left, and I went up left, and then when I got to the top of the section, he was like, "Yeah, you went up the hard way," and I was like, "I just followed what you told me."
Or it's like when you go to a new climbing area or just a new crag in general, sport climbing, and the guidebook's outdated. It's not quite updated on Mountain Project, and you're like, well, I think this is the whatever you wanted to climb, and then you get a few bolts into it, and you're like, this is really hard, and then you know you wait a month or two, and Mountain Project's updated, and it's like, oh, that was a 12. What are you doing?
Or they rebolt it. I've had that before.
Too.
You're like looking and it says like 4 bolts. And you look and you're like, okay, it looks like 4 bolts. And you get up to the 4th bolt and you go, there's like 6 more bolts here. And then you're like, shit, I would have to down climb and get some of these draws back. Or I'm going to have to like just like, you know, like fix it, to, you know, go to the top.
Or just solo it from when you run out of gear.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of kind of experiences free soloing. I have some definitely experiences doing highballs where you get into like a similar mindset. I would say like there was a highball that I did recently that like I looked at it from the bottom and I was like, okay, this looks fine. Like this looks good. This looks like good edges up there. And then I kind of got up and was like way more gripped than I thought I had to be. Like, and the holes are just like a lot more slippery. And then I got into a play. Basically, one of the big things that gives you confidence, kind of doing high balls or free soloing, is your ability to down climb. It's just knowing that, like, if you get into a situation, you can get yourself out of there. But sometimes you make a move and you kind of have to go like, okay, once I make this move, I'm committed, right? So on this particular climb, I was like, it's like 18 feet off the ground, and there was like a really and basically I had to make this move off this crimp, and I was like, okay, after I make this move, I can't reverse this. And then I got up there, and the holds were a lot thinner, and then I realized, okay, I'm getting kind of pumped, and then I saw this really high foot, and I was able to do this like really big high step. But then as I stood up on it, I strained my hip on the other side, and so I was like, you just have to like do the move, and the top was like right there, and it was like a chill top out, but I got to the top and I was just like in pain. like at that point you can't reverse it.
You're committed.
Yeah, but there's also this there's this really cool highball at a tramway where I go that I have this kind of relationship with, in the sense of I'll go there and I know I'll go there and basically the crux is the first move, but the second hardest move is right at the top, right? And it's like 25 feet, you wouldn't want to like fall on like 20 like a proud 25 feet. You wouldn't want to land on the pads at that height. And I've been there a couple times, and basically I went and like, this is again where you say like, am I soloing or am I scrambling, right? I climbed up the side, like up like a slightly easier version of it, all the way up, and then like, and basically there's like a little crimp that's like right at the top on the right. And it looks, some days I go and look at it and the edge looks really good, and some days it doesn't, right? So one day it's going to be really cold, like the friction is going to be good. I'm going to look at that edge and it's going to feel like, okay, I can do that move, and then I'm going to do it. But yeah, I have to be in the right headspace, you know.
One thing that they kind of touch upon here, but don't, obviously, to build the dramatic tension, is like, yeah, there's free solos who die while they're climbing, but I don't think any of them have died like free soloing.
Yeah.
What is your guys' like takes on like how safe it is when you're free soloing?
I always kind of think about the flat irons in Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some light free soloing up some really easy 5th class stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like every summer or fall that you just hear about, there's been a death in the flat irons, and it's like, well, I've climbed that, but it just kind of goes back to, you get complacent because and technically it's an easy route,
Yeah.
but it takes one mistake and then it's done, it's over. But yeah, it's always very sad, but it's a weird headspace. Like Jor-El's been saying, it's a weird mental spot you have to get into, and you kind of zone everything out, that little flashlight mode that we kind of touched upon as well. So yeah, it's always sad.
Yeah, and I know recently here in Colorado, at least, we had one on the Manitou Incline, which is just, how many steps is that, Drew? Do you know? It's like 2,000, I think.
I think it's exactly, no, it's 2,000 feet.
Okay.
Actually, hang on, I'll look it up. Hang on.
Okay, we're gonna do some live fact
I'll
checking.
do some live fact checking.
I'll add on to that while he's looking it up. Is it dangerous? It's extremely dangerous. It's like the most dangerous form of rock climbing. But the climbing is a dangerous sport, right? It is an adventure sport, no matter how safe you want to make it. Someone told me once, climbing is as safe or as dangerous as you want to make it. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment if you ignore other factors like rockfall and stuff like that. But yeah, everything you do in climbing is risk assessment, right? Your fear of something bad happening has to be less than your desire to do the move or do the climb or do the thing. And also, I think the more experience you get, the more your risk assessment becomes more and more nuanced. Like I was listening to this really great interview when I was driving to Vegas last weekend of Dave McLeod, who's a pretty well-known, he free solos and he sport climbs and he boulders. He does everything and drag climbs. And he's put up some of the hardest routes in Britain, like really scary drag climbs. And he went through his kind of thought process, when climbing and free soloing, like, oh, if something happens, like how would I down climb this? If a hold broke, how would I traverse out to the right? If this happened, what would I do? And he's got all these different steps in his head that I think people think, like you climb it or you die, but there's like there's so much more nuance to this topic that I think is important to mention. Drew, what did you find out about the stat?
2,000 feet of elevation gain and 2,744 steps. It's a lot of steps.
It is. I have not done that one. We did do a fundraiser down in Denver at the Republic Plaza Tower there, which is Denver's tallest, and I think it was 1,100 steps. It was a lot. It was indoors too, so it made it really hot. I think outside it's a little bit easier because you get that fresh air and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, people always, I feel like in rock climbing, always mention this, which is that like driving is statistically way more dangerous than any sort of rock climbing you're ever going to do, right? And we do it all day long. Like some people do it like all the time. Like even today, I was like driving traffic in LA, almost got into an accident, right?
It's like my daily fear in Colorado anymore. Yeah, no, it's kind of like that old statistic where you're more likely to get like hit in the head and killed by a coconut than attacked by a shark, know?
And it's even less if it's a shark holding a coconut.
I don't know. It might be amplified at that point.
Yeah.
You get a coconut shark, man, dead 10 out of 10 right there. Jor-El, going back to like kind of the filmmaking aspect, what did you think of the score with this one?
Oh, I thought it was perfect. I mean, it's like not over the top. You can hear like little moments are kind of amplified, but I think it's good, and it doesn't. I particularly don't, unless like it's maybe like a bouldering film that's supposed to be kind of vibey and that sort of kind of like feel. I tend to like climbing films that don't have a lot of underscoring, where you can just hear the climber breathing, you can hear the movement on the rock, you can hear kind of what's going on in nature. And I think that's kind of the majority of this, even though they do add some little moments here and there, kind of to underscore kind of stuff. But when he's actually doing the climbing, you can just really just hear what's going on in the moment. So I think they do a great job.
Yeah, I think the one point that really stuck out to me as far as like when he's actually climbing, it gets very quiet. There's no one talking, but you hear like this subtle like pitch when he's about to do the karate kick,
Oh, nice.
And it's just like building, and just draw in that like tension feel, how they do anymore in horror movies. They do it all the time. So
totally
just like offset it. Drew, what about you? What'd you think of the score?
It definitely was perfect, and I really appreciated they didn't kind of romanticize the whole thing of like how dangerous it was.
Yeah.
I love watching ski films in the fall for ski season, and I think sometimes those particular genre of action sport, they kind of do that, and the soundtrack and the score can kind of minimize or not how dangerous it is. And it was just very subtle through the entire movie. It was absolutely perfect is what it was.
Yeah, no, I like the subtle aspect because it kind of goes back to where Jor-El was talking about the type of documentary they were going for. It did at points feel like you were almost there, like you could have been one of the kids in the classroom, that he's talking to, and just kind of that fly on the wall with his life. And what did you guys think about like his family life, or just maybe his mental mindset that he had?
I thought it was cool. I think they showed just enough and not too much. Because I think the climbing film could easily be this whole treatise on his dad died and why is he doing this because of this, and his mom, and they never hugged and all that. And they kind of like mention all that, but they don't kind of delve into it too much. There's I don't know if you guys have seen the Dawn Wall.
Yeah.
That one I feel like they almost like do a little too much. In terms of like delving into, I mean, it's a great movie, but I just mean in terms of like delving into kind of like the personal lives and families and stuff like that too. And I think of this, they kind of nail it on the head where it's in there, but it's not like overly done.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you read a book. I just read Dead Wake, which was my second attempt to get through, but I feel like sometimes there's a little too much detail. Like sometimes it's like, okay, you're diverting the story so much. And so is that you're just talking like a good balance, like it didn't divert too much, Jor-El?
Yeah, and they don't try and like add too many like psychological undertones. I mean, I think to where they're trying to kind of speak to the viewer implicitly. I feel like they kind of mention some of these things, but they just don't go like so deep into it where you feel like the film has a perspective that it's trying to tell you, well, because of all these things, he's doing this, right? So I kind of like that aspect. I mean, the one area where they kind of do it the most, the one area that for me is kind of the most like, I guess, cringy part of this movie is when they do the brain scan. It's like he's like,
press
your
the button.
amygdala. Yeah. This is a normal human's amygdala. This is your amygdala. But I think overall they do a really good job.
I thought I kind of took away he kind of has his superpower comes from his mental state that he's able to get into, and it just touches enough of maybe the trauma he experienced as a child that kind of helped build that armor as he progressed through his climbing years and led to this kind of culmination of all of that mental trauma and rebounding from it and making that armor. Like he talks about armor and that as like something about the warrior spirit and chinks in the armor, something along those lines.
Yeah, his little warrior spirit little speech he gives right before he actually climbs it just gets you so pumped. You're just like, all right, what are we gonna go climb now? Like, let's
what
go
are we doing?
Do it. No rope.
Yeah, let's go do it. I don't know. Like, so Drew, being in Colorado, is there any like mountaineering like hikes that you are interested in doing that implement free soloing?
Well, kind of like what Jor-El touched on is just we're all technically kind of free soloing, just that the trail might not be as difficult. I do have on my list is taking all the 14ers off, and those do include some spicy class 4 and some low class 5 traverses on ridge lines. So yeah, that's kind of out there. But as far as like dedicated, like maybe like climbs, not really. I like to come home at the end of the day. That's really the key. It's really cool to, still be alive. So yeah, safety is always number one for me. But I do want to do a few things that are maybe to my parents, I wouldn't tell them till afterwards kind of thing. So that's kind of where my goals are.
Jor-El, what about you?
Oh man, I would like to implement a little more free soloing to just work on my head game for other stuff too, but really love easy stuff. I mean, there's some like high balls that I really want to do and work on that are not free. They're technically not free solos, but they're 25, 30 feet. They're
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it starts to feel like that. There's kind of a tick list of stuff. I really want to stuff like White Rastafarian at Joshua Tree. That's a really popular high ball. I would like to start doing a little more trad climbing. I think adding in some free soloing probably help with that. And just for fun, I do think it'd be fun to do. Like I like scrambling, and I do want to do a couple days where I just go up to. I've been going up to the Palm Springs aerial tramway every week this summer. While I got like the year pass, and I still got like a couple months left on it. And there's a bunch of really cool cracks and like kind of tall boulders and rocks up there. And I do want to do some days up there, just go up with like a chalk bag and some shoes and just like work on climbing. I do think having that mindset of like, don't climb up anything that you can't climb down is a good mindset to have. I think a lot of people who climb don't think about down climbing. And it's a really good way to get yourself out of trouble. I mean, if like holds break, you can't control that, but you can mitigate the risks of the climbing that you do if you know how to get down if something happens. You know, it's not a do it or fall and die scenario, right?
Well, yeah, it goes a lot into preparation. They kind of show it in the film, with him scribbling down, like mentally, like envisioning his path as he's, climbing up. And I do like that because I don't know, climbs and hikes can be long, but there's so much process that goes into it. And again, it's like filmmaking. There's so much that goes into it that people don't see.
Yeah,
And I like that aspect,
And Alex talks about this. Just he gets so much mileage, like just climbing on rocks all the time, like every week, that he just feels a lot more comfortable in that terrain. I think the more comfortable you feel, right, and the higher your ability gets, then when you get into a position where you do, make the decision that you're not going to rope up, you just feel a lot more comfortable in that situation. Like there are climbs that I've done, like, when I only climb like 5'10s, right? Now I'm climbing like 5'11s, 5'12s. There are some like 5'9s that feel a lot more comfortable to me to think about maybe doing something like that on that a year ago or 2 years ago wouldn't have, just because the climbing does feel so much easier. But then there is that like limit where you go to a place you can't reverse something, right?
Well, no, I think it's just the having that thing in the back of the head that's like it's okay to like fail, because that's kind of the aspect is it's okay to fail here and go back down and then retry it, regroup.
Climbing is about failing. Like climbing, that's like you're failing a lot of the time if you're not comfortable, like fail. And also, bailing is like super important. Even if you're not free soloing, even if you're like sport climbing, even if you're trad climbing, even if you're bouldering, sometimes you need to bail, and that's like super valuable.
Yeah.
It's a really important skill just in general in the mountains is know when to turn around.
Yeah.
Because it's always going to be there. And the saying is the trick is you got to be there too. So whether maybe you're underprepared fitness wise, I've had to do that several times on ski objectives, and it crushes you because all the preparation that you've done, everything that goes into it, and you have to turn around, but then you still have the chance to come back and do it again and make those adjustments and learn from your mistakes. It's a great skill for kids too. Climbing and failure go hand in hand, and that's a skill that maybe gets overlooked when folks get older into their adult years, that they didn't learn quite how to fail. And this is a great sport in teaching that to kids. So
Totally.
very important.
I agree. Also the idea that like it's not really failing, you're just not doing it then. Right?
That's a good point.
Just delaying it,
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the
Drew,
nice things.
How are they implementing it into like schools and stuff? Because I know like when I was in elementary, kind of just had those ropes you climbed up on. But I know like now it's a bigger kind of sport. Like how do you implement it?
In my PE program, we'll go K through 2. They have the opportunity to climb every day, and that's just to kind of it's not really taken that seriously. But then when we get to 3rd through 6th grade, there's more challenges and opportunities to kind of feel that pride in accomplishing something. But at the same time, there's levels to it. So I don't know if Natiri's ever brought home a climbing certificate, but those I hand out a lot of those at the beginning of the year because kids will sort of goal for themselves and then they'll revisit it back in the later in the year. But progressing through middle school and high school, climbing's one of the most popular sports in America as far as how fast it's growing. Climbing teams are popping up all over the place, and at the climbing gym in our town, there's a specific little climbing team, and they compete all around Colorado, and then they'll go, if you qualify, they'll go to nationals and stuff. But it's really cool to see just that little climbing team in general. I've been at this gym for about 4 years now, and I've known some of these kids since they were in 7th and 8th grade, and now they're juniors and seniors in high school, and they're just crushing it. It's cool to watch them grow up in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, no, it's awesome that we have one. Growing up, we had to go to like, I think there was one like in Centennial, Rockin' and Jammin' 2, I think is what it was.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time with my uncle. We'd do that or go hike in the mountains. So when I heard they were building a gym here. I was so excited. So,
That's awesome.
well, before we kind of wrap up here, Jor-El, kind of give us your final thoughts and rating on this film.
Oh, 15 stars out of 10. I loved it. I thought it was great. I think not only is this film really toe the line between kind of not how do I say this? I think this film does a really good job at being really entertaining for people who don't climb, but also staying true to the kind of the content that it's trying to say for the people who are interested in climbing, right? So it kind of merges those two worlds together. And I also think this film is kind of like a watershed moment, right, for climbing, right? I think this film got a lot of people really interested in climbing and create a lot of exposure. I mean, like it won an Oscar. It had this massive amount of exposure all around the world. And I think this, along with, climbing in the Olympics, it's going to make climbing, like Drew said, sport is growing more and more, and it's super cool to see more and more people doing it. And yeah, it's a really cool film. And you should definitely check out some other climbing films if you like this film. Like The Dawn Wall is really, really good. Alpinist is really good. I used to love it when I was a kid. I don't know if you can find it, but To the Limit, which is all about the Hoover brothers trying to set the speed limit on the nose. The boulder problem is actually called the Hoover boulder problem because he was the first guy to do it.
Cool.
So those guys were some of the first people who came in from Europe and climbed in Yosemite. There's a bunch of other great stuff out there.
Yeah, see, I have a bunch of like mountaineering ones, like Beyond the Edge or Wildest Dream and stuff like that. I just love the mountains and being up super high.
Totally.
I don't know why. I hate heights, but I love being up super high. It's a weird contradiction. Tallest buildings, mountains, I'm good. Let's get up there.
As long as there's secure footing.
Yeah, as long as I can hold on to something, we're good. Drew, what about you?
I think it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, and Jor-El nailed it. This was like a turning point for climbing, from being an underground sport to now it's kind of creeping into the mainstream as far as popularity. Like it's growing big time. With that too, I hope people that do get out and that see this movie get inspired to climb, take a class, learn from people that know more than you do. Don't just go out and buy the dangly things and the rope and all that stuff. Like, take the time to know what you're doing, because it can be dangerous, but it also, if you do it right, you can do it for a lifetime. And
yeah,
I think, I don't know how much longer he can free solo. Like, it catches up to you eventually. He's got 2 kids now.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has a third on the way.
Yeah. I think something important to mention is like free soloing is like a very small percentage of the type of climbing that Alex Honnold does.
Yeah, it really is. It's like less than 1% of what he does.
There's a lot of sport climbing, a lot of trad climbing, some bouldering. I agree with Drew too, by the way. Like, do things as safely and responsibly as you can. Find someone who knows more than you. Find someone you trust. One of the most unique things about climbing that I love is it's an opportunity to really build trust in another human being, because you're putting your life in their hands and they're putting their life in your hands, and you're both trying to support each other in doing something that's pretty incredible. So definitely take it seriously, but have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you even look at, this film, Alex talks about, some people he learned from. It takes practice like anything. Practice makes perfect. And like they said, it's safe if you're doing it correctly.
Well, I wouldn't say it's ever safe, but it's more.
It's safe. Relatively safe, compared to what people picture. But as long as you're doing it correctly,
100%.
It's not the worst thing. There's other activities people are doing that you're like, this probably is going to go wrong. 50 out of 50. We've talked to a lot of skydivers here, and I don't know if you've heard of I'm afraid of Jason Denon. So we talked to him, but he was skydiving. He used to do it weekly out in the Flatirons.
Oh, wow.
And one day the wind gust came and just flung him into a building and broke every bone, was in a coma, but came back out and did a triathlon. But just shows you just be careful. As long as you're safe, it's fine. As far as my rating and Rex, I do recommend it. I give it a 10 out of 10 as usual for this one. If you guys seen my early review, that's what I did there. And yeah, it's one of my favorite documentaries. I was really excited to go see it anyway. I think like Drew, I read the book, and yeah, I was excited. So hopefully, we didn't scare Drew off. We can bring him back on. And we can do some more, climbing films and stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
Hopefully, we won't typecast him. I know I feel bad. I feel like I typecasted Jor-El for a while. They're just doing westerns. So.
No, it's okay. I mean, my horse is right over there. Don't worry.
But yeah, we'll be back. I know Jor-El has some film ideas we can do. And Drew, if you got any, or if you want to talk sports, we do sports. So let me know. We'll be in touch.
Cool. Thanks for the invite again, man. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, and before I forget, I'm so used to doing it with the other group. Where can people find more information on you guys if they want?
Go for it, Drew.
I have zero social media, so
you have to find him in person. Give us some.
You have to find me out in the wild. I did have a funny story, very briefly. No social media thing. I help out with a ski mountaineering school in the springtime here, and one of my students, our students, ran into someone on a line and was like, "Hey, I know this Drew guy. He's in this ski mountaineering thing." And the guy's like, "No, I'm in it. I know the same Drew guy. Tell him I said hi." And my student came back to me and was like, "Hey, this guy, I don't know his name, but he told me to tell you hi." And I was like, cool. I don't know what to tell you. If you see him again, tell him I said hi, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, that's great. I love little stories like that. Yeah, and that's something you see in the climbing community. Like you build these like relationships while you're in a gym or out climbing, and then they'll remember you. But you, Jor-El, you got any stories like that?
Oh, I do have social media. So unlike Drew, so I think, and also my name is fairly unique. So anytime someone says like just Jor-El, it's like usually me. It's not like the other guys. I mean, what was the question about running into people?
Yeah, or just let people know where they could run into you online.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. You can find me on Instagram, which is my last which is at Vaasborg, should be on the screen, which is my last name. I also just started a YouTube channel this last year. So if you're into climbing content, I basically go out and film some of my kind of like adventures out on rock, and I also have beta videos for anyone who wants to try some of the climbs that I'm working on. So sometimes it's helpful if you're working on a particular climb to see someone else do it and see like their sequence where they put their hands and where they put their feet. So I was going off every weekend and climbing, and like if I was like trying to figure out how to do a climb, I'd go online and I would like look at beta videos, and I thought, well, these are super helpful for me, and I'm going out every weekend and doing this. So why don't I kind of put some up on my channel? So if you want to see some climbing beta videos or just some kind of travel videos, it's the same thing. It's Vaasborg. Or you can just probably type my name in YouTube and it'll show up. So
just don't click on another one of ours. I'll make sure to be a good host. Put this, all the links in the description so you can go
perfect.
there too. Yeah.
So once again, I want to say thank you to both Jor-El and Drew for joining us on this awesome discussion on Free Solo, which is definitely one of my all-time favorite documentaries. Make sure to go in the description below and check out all those links if you want to follow Jor-El. And, stay tuned if you guys like this kind of stuff. We'll definitely be back talking some more rock climbing and mountaineering videos and maybe do a little bit of our own. But until next time, guys, for more Culz Reviews deep dives, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, have you seen Free Solo? And what's your favorite climbing movie? Tell us in the comments below.